Howdy, everyone. So, I think I have not actually made the 8-week video, looking back at it now, actually. Um, I don't think I ever made the 8-month update. So I'm going to do the 8-month update first, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the ones that I'm actually excited to tell you all about. So, just for purposes, this is my voice, 8 months on testosterone. Um, I have been self-injecting, and it's been a needles game as far as I'm concerned. I switched to the self-injecting because during school I was incredibly stressed, and it was really hard because I was working, and I was trying to do classes, and I had a lot of stuff, and trying to get to the health center to give them a shot. It was just tiresome. So I said I'm gonna learn how to do this on my own, which would turn into like hour-long sessions of trying to convince myself that this shot was necessary, and I knew it was necessary, but I would just get so needle shy. Um, and so I've gone through a lot of needle gauges, and so a lot of trans men, and I hope that not just trans men watch these videos, because I try to explain things to people who I know are not trans. It makes it easier, right? So when I first came out, one of the first two things I remember is that a lot of people told me that they started with 18 and 21s, so that they would draw out of the testosterone with an 18 gauge needle, and then they would inject with a 21 gauge needle. Those a 21 no a 21 or a 23. Those are the first few sizes I had ever heard. Now, 23 was usually because someone was giving it to them in their hip because it's just easier that way. Because a 21 is a pretty big size gauge needle, and an 18 gauge is huge, pretty much. So, um, yeah. So I was like, okay, cool, right? And so I've seen, I believe, 3 different doctors over the last 8 months. I have gotten a variety of different needle scripts and needle sizes used. And I went through when I actually first learned how to inject when I was in Cleveland. I had used a 21 to draw, a 21, and it was an inch long. And I was injecting with like a 23, and it was like an inch long. So it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't half the dose that I was on now, so it wasn't that much to do. But it was like a one-time thing I was taught, and I was really nervous. So when I came back, I went to a different doctor. Actually, I think 4 different doctors. Yeah. So I went to a Dr. Forestier here in Virginia Beach, and he wanted me to keep coming in and getting them in my hip, and because like the hip is just a great place to get it. But I was trying to do some self-injecting at some point, so I tried doing it. Um, in the legs, and that didn't really end well. I would hyperventilate, and so after 3 times of nearly passing out, I said I really can't do this. I have to have someone give me a shot. I just can't. In the thighs. Come to realize, I was actually injecting in the center of my thigh when I should have been injecting off in the muscle to the like off in the quarter at an angle and all this other stuff. So I remember I was using at one point I was using 21s and 23s. I've used 20s. I would have them inject me with 20s whenever I have to go and get a shot. I always like, you can just inject me with a 20 because it just gets me and gets me out and I'm ready to go. But most recently, I was trying to use 25s to inject. Now, when I first started using 25s, I didn't like them. I was already nervous, and I was trying to give myself shots in the bathroom, and I realized I cannot do my shots in an enclosed space, because I will pass out, I get anxious, my skin gets hot, I get tingly, and I just can't do it. I have to be in an open room with a fan. I have to have the free-flowing ventilation because it's the only thing that's going to calm me down. So, I had given up on 25s because I just assumed they were way too small. And it takes longer because it's really, small needle and the solution's really thick. So I said, okay, fine. I used 23s when I was in Ithaca before I came here. So in December, I was using a couple of 23s. And it would still take long, and it would sting, and I would get like a golf ball sized knot in my leg, which pretty much sucked. And so, um, what I decided to do is when I came here, I was like, I couldn't take them on the plane, so I had to go get some more needles. And I couldn't go to the needle exchange because it was the week of Christmas, and I was like, the universe is out for me. I had to do some calling so that people didn't think I was a drug user. Then I had a different pharmacy, have to give me the needles. And so he said, we don't have any 23s. I only have 22s. He's like, but they're an inch and a half needle. And I remember someone was like, you really should use an inch and a half needle because it's more likely to get all the way up in the muscle. And I said, fine, cool, whatever, right? And so I had to give myself that shot, and I realized an inch and a half is a lot of needle to be wielding, especially if you don't like to give yourself needles in the first place. And so I got to the point that I almost thought I really wasn't going to do it, and I did it, and it was horrible. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. And I'm like, this was last Thursday, right before I had to come and get my surgery, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And so, no, this is surgery. This was Christmas week. the week before my surgery, I was like, I can't do it. I can't. There's way too much needle. I'm freaking out. So I contacted my buddy Riley, and I was like, what size do you use? And he said, man, I just do a 25. He's like, if it takes longer, it's fine. He's like, but it doesn't, it's like nothing going in. And so I said, you know what? I have to give myself this shot. It's night. I don't have time for this. And so I have like 120 of the 25 gauges laying around in my room because I was originally, I had a script for those. Um, so I did it, and it actually didn't take as long because I was like, wow, it's an inch needle, and it's not all this needle that I'm wielding, and it was much easier. And it was actually pretty wonderful. So I was like, I kind of like this. I might just use 25s to inject and not have heart attacks every time. So that was the wonderful thing. It's the biggest thing. Um, I have had top surgery, and I'm going to explain that in a different video. And because of that, I was originally thinking of increasing my testosterone dose. I'm going to debate that with my physician who does my scripts in Ithaca about mildly raising it and then my working out to counter it, and so then I can go back to the dose that I'm on just enough because my changes have pretty much kind of stopped right now, which I can tell is because of my weight. And so I was like, oh man, I gotta, I just want to keep them at least slightly forward. I don't want to go too much further because I'm on 100 milligrams a week and there's really not much. Yeah, you gotta be careful going past that. Um, and it was also, I was concerned about any counteraction I would have with the birth control implant in my arm because it's an estrogen-based birth control implant. So I was just like, look, there's nothing we can work out here. Um, as for changes, I think to me, my voice sounds the same, but I came back and a lot of people like, I was not expecting the voice change, and I was like, oh yeah. Sounds better when I actually sleep, but I haven't slept much, so the voice has changed. I'm getting some of the facial hair thing. I don't think you guys can see. It's too dark right now. I won't worry about it. I learned when I went to get my hair cut with my brother in Richmond, um, the wonderful effect of framing. So I'm gonna try and start really lining it up to make it smaller, and it makes it pop more. I'm actually getting chin hair. It's not coarse, but it's coming in. My acne is horrible, so I have things to fix that because I am in ridiculousness when it comes to acne, and I scar really easily right now. So I'm like, can't. The acne struggle is too real. My body hair is crazy. Like, it's definitely coming in, and it's particularly coming in on my thighs and in my underarms, but mainly on my thighs. Like, I can shave, and that stuff comes back, and I'm just like, you just can't come in on my face. I realized that my hair is actually growing faster because I just had it cut down to like a 1 over Thanksgiving, and like in a month it's grown this much, and it usually never has. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm not balding yet. And the Davis men, my family's men, we get bald spots right here. So I actually have just been working to make sure I get a nice little swirl because all of the men that I've ever seen all have that patch. We keep a nice. That's like my hairline's natural like that. So I'm like, as long as this don't go nowhere, I can just wear a cool little hat when I get in my 40s or 50s, and I'll work it out or just shave everything off. I just don't want to do all that. But I'm considering possibly like growing out and getting locks or something for a little while to give my hair a break. So I'm working on it. Yeah. So I mean, my body's doing its own thing. I'm still doing some of the social changes of transitioning, which I will definitely mention in another video. But right now, as far as the physical changes on surgery, my life's been pretty reasonable. My body's highly reactive to food, which is pretty interesting because my lactose intolerance has gotten significantly worse since being on T. My heartburn, mild acid reflux, indigestion, all of that, I can eat something really crappy. Like if I eat 2 bad meals in a day, I feel it for the next day. Like, and it happens like within an hour or so. And I'm like, oh dear, like my body is highly reactive right now. So it lets me know what I can and can't eat or how bad I'm gonna feel. So I guess it's a blessing and a curse. So yeah, those are my awkward little body updates. So yeah, I'm gonna probably make a couple of videos tonight and then go be lazy for the next, like, ever until my body heals. Alright, so I'll talk to you all laters. Yay.